Hello, this is Susan Avery at My Purchasing Center, and I'm at the ProcureCon Indirect West Conference in Las Vegas, here with Randy Clark, Senior Strategic Buyer, Non-Automotive Purchasing at Volvo Group.
Hi, Susan. Thanks. It's
Hi.
great to be here. My role at Volvo is a very indirect procurement role. Within Volvo, we have two kinds of purchasing. We have everything to do with the manufacturing of our trucks, construction equipment, the products that we sell in the marketplace. Then we have all the purchasing that deals with how to run the business. So I'm actually in what's called the MRO part of that indirect procurement piece. I also am fortunate because I have a role on the direct materials side as well, where oils and greases for our products is involved. I deal with that because we also sell and brand those in our aftermarket programs for our dealer network. So indirect procurement was tapped to handle that across all the different brands globally. So I enjoy both sides of the table, if you will. You know, procurement is procurement, but there are different ways that you deal with suppliers. You have different needs. The direct material side is very production driven. It's what we call the expense side of the house. We're very conscious of the cost on that side of the house. On the indirect side, where the aftermarket is concerned, or we call it at Volvo soft products in many cases, it's not so much about the price, it's about the value that there is with that product and putting it into the marketplace, branded with the Volvo or the Mack or the Renault brand that we all support. It's about how do we gain market share and how do we create this brand that's recognized globally.
And how did you become involved with ProcureCon?
It's a very interesting story, Susan, and you play a part of that story. Several years ago, you interviewed me for a magazine article that you were writing, and the people at ProcureCon saw that article, and out of the blue, I received a phone call from them. They asked me if I would be interested in coming and telling my story at one of their events, and I said, well, sure, I'll be glad to give that a try. That was actually 5 years ago, and here I am still today, and very much enjoy my involvement with ProcureCon. I'm also on their advisory board, and I help them keep the subject matter pertinent to procurement, both on the direct and the indirect side. And I'm a very strong supporter of ProcureCon.
And you led a session yesterday on designing an organization, and I was fortunate enough to be there, and we talked about how purchasing needs marketing skills. Could you summarize that session for us?
It was a roundtable discussion, and there were maybe a dozen or so colleagues as we sat around the table, and we talked about what sort of skill sets do you need when you're in those final stages of developing your procurement organization. The people that are there at that point, regardless of their role in that organization, what skill set do they need? And we really focused in on, are we salesmen at that point? Selling our product, our service, if you will, within our own companies as procurement, commercial experts, that sort of thing? Or are we marketers? Are we telling the good story about how we save money and we can reduce supplier numbers, we can improve payment terms and cash flow? Or is it really a combination of all those different things? And it was very unique in our discussion yesterday. We talked about you're either a salesman, you're a marketer, you're somewhere in between the two of those, but the real issue is once you achieve that level of procurement and your department is brought to that point in its organization, it's about competence. You can't substitute competence of good commercial procurement people with automated tools. That's what they are, tools to help you achieve the desired results. But you have to have the people, the resources, if you will, who are competent in commercial procurement.
So Randy, what are the key takeaways for you from this conference? What are you bringing back to Volvo with you?
Susan, like I said, I've been doing this for 5 years now, and I would say every event that I attend for ProcureCon, I take back home with me something, some nugget, if you will, or some new idea, some new concept that I can share with my team at Volvo. And I also use it a lot of times to help mentor other people within our organization, to bring them along, to make them aware of what other people out in the procurement profession are talking about. The truth is we all experience the same problems, the same frustrations. It's how we deal with them and what situations we find ourselves in. ProcureCon is very well organized and very well focused. Not so much on processes and procedures. Those are very tactical things. ProcureCon's at a level above that. They're more at that procurement professional, C-level, manager level type situation where they're sharing about philosophies and how to deal with this. And have you faced this in your organization? Here's how other people have dealt with it. I find that very helpful. I also find it very interesting because it helps keep me motivated in the procurement world. There are many people on the advisory board that I serve on, as well as here attendees. You make a connection with them. You do some networking with them. You find yourself talking to them several times during the year, and you're sharing. You're not always sharing the bad things. You're also sharing the successes. You know they understand. You know they've walked in your shoes. To me, that's a very important part of ProcureCon.
Anything specific from this conference that you're bringing home?
We've had some excellent discussions this time. You know, a lot of times people come to events and they'll sit in a large conference room and they'll look at presentations and PowerPoint slides all day long. Maybe they'll get something out of that, maybe they won't. I think in this event, ProcureCon put a lot of energy and effort into breaking down into smaller groups for discussions. Maybe a quick presentation on a concept, then let's break it into roundtable discussions. I really have heard a lot of positive comments about that, the ones that I've participated in. You're sitting there around the table with a dozen or so of your peers, and you're talking about, we did it this way here, you know, I failed at it over here, let me advise you not to do this, lessons learned, even sharing the success stories. I found that this worked. I found that this particular process or procedure worked for us in our situation. I would say that this event has really brought that home for me. I would say ProcureCon is a well-organized tool for procurement professionals.